What's your I was the only one to get away story? Was at a fish show. We had been following the tour for a while. Undercovers caught my dude rolling a blunt in the car. Then the other dude with us was coming by. I'm throwing as many tfo son. Looks I can, but they popped him for having pills when he came by. So everyone I was with, including the dude who owned the car, got arrested. Thousands of miles from home. As the smartest in the group is getting cuffed, he asks the cops to give me his keys and their tickets. So I had a pocket of concert tickets, a car that isn't mine, and like $100. Took the car, bought a couple hundred bottles of water and a few 30 packs and went back to the concert. Sold all the water for $1 each. Most of the beers except like 15 or so I drank for $3 each. And scalped every ticket for like $120 each. Showed up at the jail with a random girl from the concert. Hit house drunk. And bailed my friends out in all 1s. Then bought them a hotel room. Can't leave my people behind. Man. Edit. I appreciate all the nice words. Just pretend I replied to each of you individually that I'm just doing what they would do for me. Thanks for the gold too. I don't deserve it. I went to a private high school and was part of a group of about 20 people who knew about a tent hidden in the woods behind our school. People would go there and have sex after school. Smoke pot and do hood rat sheet. Someone got in trouble and ratted out all of us as an attempt to lessen her punishment. Apparently she was going to be expelled, and on the last day before finals we all got called down to the detention room and the dean told us that they had found drug paraphernalia and weapons, airsoft pistol, and made us all write down everything we know about the tent. And who we've seen at the tent. 19 people ratted out everyone in that room, including themselves, and were given pretty harsh punishments. 3 were expelled. Some were suspended into the next year and the rest got demerits. I wrote down I have no idea what you're talking about. Went and talked to the deans and said the same thing and was off the hook. I'm certain my name was on every list. And I'm sure they wanted to nail me, but I denied, and I guess they were satisfied with 19 people giving themselves up. Hotboxing a truck with some friends of a friend senior year in an empty parking lot of some park already high as duck. When suddenly the Taco Bell we had gorged on earlier is going up eating my bowels, and holy shit, I need a bathroom. I stumbled my way to the public restroom on the other side of the parking lot. I finish, and as I'm about to walk out I see what looks like red lights illuminating the entrance. I start losing my shit. I know it's cops and everyone's high as duck. At this point I knew my friends are ducked. Capital B. What the duck should I do? I retreated in the farthest stall and texted my parents saying I was crashing at some dude's house. Ended up falling asleep in the stall. Woke up the next morning and got another friend to pick me up. Got away. No one ratted me out. And that's how Taco Bell simultaneously destroyed and saved my ass at the same time. High school party. Girl decides to spread her legs and duck 12 guys in a room. I passed out before it happened. They all got chlamydia. My first house party in college was on Halloween my freshman year. Naturally everyone was in costume and about half the people there were underage. I wasn't drinking, but my friends were. Around midnight an older guy, 40s, walked in dressed as a cop. Me, being the one of the few sobers at the party, realized he was an actual cop. I tried to convince my friends to leave, but they all said the guy was just in a costume. So I left on my own. I walked right past the cop, told him to have a good night, and walked home. I found out the next day all of my friends got tickets for underage drinking. I was gambling in Vegas on a Friday with friends' bachelor party coming up the next day. Playing blackjack, mostly just killing time waiting for dinner, but the table was on fire. It was a full table shortly after I sat down. I played for a couple hours and the table was all up on money, anywhere from $50,000 to $800. The $800 was me. Everyone else was literally up at least 10 grand. It's about 20 minutes before I'm supposed to meet up with someone, so I call it and head back to my room so I can shower and change for the night. Head out for dinner and have a good night. The next morning, My buddies call me down to the lobby to meet up. As I get down there, out of sheer coincidence they are talking to the dealer that was at the table when I left. She says there he is, and points at me. Friends are like no sheet. Turns out, I was the only one that walked away from that table with $1 to my name. I was abducted in Iraq while working in it along 4 other people. After 946 days I was released. Everyone else taken with me was killed. This is an article that was written about my experience. That's a step up from the people here who got in trouble with the cops. Started racing. I was winning. Cop lights come on. Friend stopped. I kept going. A few minutes later I get a call from my friend. Friend, the cop wants you to come back. Me, no. Friend, he says you'll get it now or later. Me, I guess I'll get it later then. Park my car down the street from my house. Friend came and picked me. And we went to his place to play box. I felt kinda bad that he got a ticket and I didn't. As a teen I worked at retail shop with a bunch of other teens. We would regularly fill carts with merchandise and walk them out the front door when management was on break. Cases of beer. Cartons of cigarettes. Perfume. Cologne. Batteries. Compact discs. DR. Skulls, you name it, we stole it. I got promoted from cashier to customer service counter. A woman came in one day with a severe itch face on. I said something along the lines of you don't look like you've had a positive shopping experience or some bullshit. She went off on me. Turns out the itch face was her normal face and I said the same thing to her every time she came. I didn't remember her, was high most of the time, into the store. That was my 3rd strike and I got fired on the spot. 1 week later, all my friends were arrested for theft. They had installed hidden cameras throughout and busted everyone except me. High school party, one of my first. I was wasted. Throwing up in the basement bathroom when the cops arrived. Eventually they were let inside and stormed into the basement where everyone was hiding loudly with the lights off. With their flashlights beaming down into the dark. I want to say there were at least 30 people rounded up into the living room where they started calling parents. The host of the party saw me sitting on the mantle. Having accepted my fate. She knew my dad would, literally, whoop my ass. And sent me out the window. I knocked over the grill on my way out and walked around the back of the house. Through a few backyards. And to the neighborhood pool where I cuddled with some bushes for a few hours. When I saw the last cop finally leave, I sprinted back to the house and knocked on the door to be let in, scaring the shit out of the 3 survivors. A few dozen people were charged with underage drinking. Not me but a friend. This happened 20 plus years ago. Her friends were hanging out and decided to go out for pizza. She headed to the pizza place while the others headed to the other location of same pizza joint. This was before the days of common cell phones. The location that her friends went to. A guy decided to shoot up the place. I'm not sure how many were hit. She was obviously fine because she was at the other location. Stole food from a grocery store. I was with 2 other black kids. I'm white. As we're walking out the manager stops us and he tells me to lift my shirt. Some white cashier girl tells the manager no. Not him. It was them referring to my 2 black friends. I walked out with a sheet load of stuff. They got in a lot of trouble. Pretty ducked up. Turn up in the school washroom with my friends. With the lights off and music blasting out. People were hanging off the stalls and making as much noise as possible. Teacher comes in and writes our names down. She gets to me and asks have I already written your name and I say yes and walk away. Friends got detention. Apparently someone cracked the mirror in the washroom and no one fessed up so they all went down together. Skipped class with some friends. They all got detention except me. I went to my doc. Said that I skipped class and gave him a wink. Got the papers to stay at home for the rest of the week. I was the only one to get away from my hometown. Even the kids who went to college out of state moved right back. I was one of 4 in my class who took early graduation. Graduated high school with diploma in hand end of January instead of June. Even though due to how the school changed class scheduling, like 90% of the senior class was eligible. We went from a possible 7 credits a school year to a possible 10. The change happened in our junior year, so since we all came in under the old schedule, we still only needed the lower credits to graduate. I remember on my last day in January everyone was talking in homeroom like, did you take early grad? No. Me either, wish I did, but I'd miss everyone. This was the school. Town. Teachers. Jobs. People they said they utterly detested and couldn't wait to get away from. They're all still there. Now with apartments and kids. Still saying how much they hate it and wish they could move away. When I was in high school, we had a Guitar Hero tournament. After the whole ordeal was over, nobody made us actually get rid of the setup that was in an unused room. This led to a bunch of us always leaving to go to the bathroom and just going to play Guitar Hero. Eventually it evolved into 5-6 box PlayStation setups in the room. One day the principal finally walks in this room and there are upwards of 30 people in there playing video games. He immediately marches us all to the office. I storm out the door to go first with a plan that should never work. I walk up to the office door, pull it back and hold it for everyone, and then just shut the door behind them and walk off. Somehow nobody noticed that I never went in and I never got in trouble. Nobody else got in real serious trouble. Just some detentions. But still hilarious. Toga party senior year. Cops bust the party. I get dragged out of a house and get told to have a sobriety test. Unconstitutional. I know. But I was pretty drunk. I decided that there wasn't much out in trying. So I started talking casually with the cop. By the end of it he said I could leave without a sobriety test. People came up to me for the next 2 weeks asking how much community service I got. Dart. This isn't my story, but the story of a creepy old man I encountered at a wedding. I guess he was a sailor back in the day and some crazy bird was following his ship around, so he shot and killed it. After that, the other sailors were all bent out of shape about it. But they encountered some bad weather and they all died except for him. I don't really understand it, but I've been a sadder and wiser man ever since I heard this tale. Drunk with a few friends walking through the docks trendy bar area and see an industrial building with a tantalizingly easy to climb up to roof. We climb up on the roof. They recycle plastic. Someone reports burglars on the roof, because recycled plastic and trash must be a big target, and cops show up. I casually climb onto a tree that overhangs the roof and quickly pass out and the cops don't see me. My friends don't rat me out. They get banned for life from a bar in a completely different area of the dock complex because the cops told them they caught them trying to cut a hole in the roof and burgle them. Utter bullshit. We were stargazing and drunk chatting. Anyway, I wake up a few hours later and ask why they left me up there, and I'm reminded of the whole cop thing and informed they weren't arrested but were banned from a bar. We went to the bar the next day to make a point. When I was in 3rd grade I went to a pretty good school, but all around it were lots of low-income areas, full of white families. Over the next 2 years they all started to gravitate into my school. So by 5th grade, energy drinks, weapons, mainly knives, but nobody ever used them, swearing, white gangster kids, and sideways flat bill hats with the sticker still on them were everywhere. Of course, most people fell in love with UFC and WWE around this age. I did not. Sadly my friends did, and it led to some confrontations. Then, one day people in my clique started to write on a piece of paper at lunch names of kids they wanted to try to beat up at recess. I went along with it out of curiosity. Then, the whole table knew about the list, and soon the whole lunchroom. It was all we could talk about. And somehow the list evolved into a fight at recess. The teachers tried to shut it down, but to no avail. Then at recess around 80% of the school was at one corner of the playground in a circle, and an all-out brawl started. I wasn't in it, because I had no idea how to fight and I didn't feel like getting in trouble. All of the school staff, well, most of it, was needed to stop it. And the crowd was broken up and lectures were being given. They gave out punishments to anyone who was near the fight. So a group of kids and I tried to sneak away. We were about to enter a wooded area of the playground. It was Michigan. So we had lots of ease, and a teacher shouted at us to get over here. Being at the front, I quickly slipped behind a wide trunk while the others went towards the teacher and their imminent doom. Nobody even noticed me slip to the other side of the playground to avoid the teachers. And that is how around 60-70% of the school got detentions, counseling, and I got off scot-free. The sole survivor in my clique. During school, my friends and I sat at the same table. They and me had a food fight. However, I sat at the perfect angle to where the lunch people couldn't see me throwing food. I didn't get caught and the rest of my friends had to clean the tables for a week and got detention. Loads of people at a pub in my town that was notorious for not hiding, so had loads of underage people in there drinking. It was their busiest night of the year and the police raided it. Most people ran out the back and some hopped the fence. The rest tried to hide in the toilets. I just sat there drinking as the police came through the pub, pulling everyone out the toilets and back inside, hiding them all and taking names and addresses. The people who had jumped the fence decided to stand on the corner just outside to wait for their friends who hadn't been so lucky. They thought. Next thing they knew, the police had come outside and started hiding. Everyone stood on the corner like they had inside. Myself and two friends, one of age, the other, like me, not yet 18, had just sat there through the entire incident, drinking our pints and joking on with some of the better natured cops. They didn't bother riding anyone who hadn't run, so I was one of a very few of my friends who got away with it scot-free. I had two girlfriends in middle school who peer pressured me into everything: stealing, drinking, etc. I was a pretty innocent kid. So I finally put my foot down one night when they were trying to steal my parents' alcohol. We were 12. They made fun of me until I cried. And I felt like I lost my two best friends. I googled their names 10 years later and saw that they were both arrested multiple times for petty theft. Heh. I went to a white party in high school, providing the booze and everything. Cops come. I use the phone in the downstairs bathroom to call my boyfriend and ask him to pick me up at the gas station. I take the screen out of the egress window and escape that way. I jog on out of there, barefoot, and run the couple miles to the gas station at a pretty leisurely pace. I get into my boyfriend's car and we head on home. Everyone there got a fine and a night in jail. I didn't have money, so I'm pretty ducking glad I got away.